Games nowadays are known for their huge open worlds where there's tons of things to see. And the more stuff there is, the more likely there's some places you're not going to find. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 secret areas you shouldn't miss in open world games, Part 2. Now in Part 1, we covered some areas in some big ones. Far Cry 4 and 5, GTA 5, RDR2, Fallout 4, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Dying Light, Dead Rising 2, and Shadow of the Colossus. Not in that order, but if you're interested in some secret areas in those games, check out our first video. And without further ado, at number 10, Fallout 4's Mass Fusion Building. Probably one of the most prominent landmarks in Fallout 4 is the Mass Fusion Building, this huge skyscraper that dominates the Commonwealth skyline. It's a place begging for exploration, and there's a decent amount to find there normally, but there's also a little secret area you can access with the right tools. Near the top of the tower, there's a destroyed wall leading to a small room and a simple safe. It wouldn't be that noteworthy except one thing. The only way to even reach this area is with a jetpack. Totally inaccessible otherwise. Don't even try. If you're on PC, obviously you can just cheat, but that sort of defeats the point a little bit, you know? If you're doing it right, you gotta be careful because it is a long way down. If you do manage to get to this secret area, at least you'll never have to worry about falling again, because your reward for reaching this place is the free fall legs, which is this special pair of legendary armor that just negates all fall damage, so you can just jump back down and you won't feel anything. Now, fall damage isn't like a huge problem in Fallout 4, but it's still a good reward for anyone brave enough to reach this secluded location. At number 9, an iconic secret that we did leave out of the last list. However, at this point, everyone kind of knows about this one, and the game it's a teaser for has been out for years at this point, but that doesn't make it not a great secret. Batman Arkham Asylum had a room that ended up being a big teaser for the sequel, and the sequel, Arkham City, had its own secret room meant to tease the then unannounced Arkham Knight. To find this place, you have to stand on top of this hatch on a random boat and use your cryptographic sequencer. If you're in the right place, it'll give you a code combination unscramble. The password, City of Terror, unlocks the hatch, which leads to the secret lair of the Scarecrow. You explore the place in first person, and it is appropriately creepy. It even has a jump scare when you zoom in on this tied-up Joker goon. Back when this game first came out, it was a pretty exciting find, because it confirmed a lot of players' suspicions that Scarecrow would be the central villain of the next Batman game, which ended up being mostly right. At number 8 is Eventide Island from Breath of the Wild. Another well-known area at this point. Like, people investigate Legend of Zelda games like crazy, but it's unique enough to deserve a mention. Found in the southeastern part of the map, Eventide Island is a place that's so far away that paragliding to it can even be difficult without a mostly upgraded stamina bar. If you do manage to reach the place blind, like you just go there, not knowing what it is, you're in for a bit of a shock because it triggers a quest when you land there. Quest is called Stranded on Eventide, and it strips you of all of your items and equipment except your runes and the paraglider. So the goal is to explore the island and insert 3 orbs into pedestals without getting killed. Dying in this case is not a slap in the wrist either. For this quest, you cannot save, and if you die, you have to start the whole thing all over again. So the whole thing is especially challenging compared to almost everything else in Breath of the Wild. In fact, it's almost a Breath of the Wild miniature. You start from scratch, and it adds a level of danger to the challenge that you really don't see in a lot of Legend of Zelda games. And number 7 is Witcher 3 of Darien Darkness. Overall, Witcher 3 is obviously pretty serious, but when it wants to get goofy, it's pretty serious about getting goofy, let's just say. Like, look at this quest of Darien Darkness, which only triggers if you go out of this abandoned manor in Novigrad. Most players will find this one searching for cat school gear, but unless you take the time to look around, you can completely miss the quest. With the right quest item in hand, you can use this portal and get transported to a secret laboratory of a tyromancer, a cheese magician, basically. Yeah. So, I mean, it at least explains all the cheese statues and the rancid smell. To get out of this place, you gotta navigate a maze filled with, cheese fumes. The cheese with a glass case above them, safe. The ones without the glass case, toxic. Your reward for all of this, the Emmentaler, which is a pun. Do you get it? Do you understand? Emmental is a Swiss cheese. Laughing? I'm laughing. Seriously, a tyromancer, a cheese magician. This stuff is hilarious, but there's also a level of tedium to it that I think the developers kind of inflicted on you intentionally.
My trial of the cheeses. Vesemir will get a kick out of this when I tell him. Not sure this can get any worse.
And number 6 is the Final Fantasy 15 Piteous Ruins. Not too often you get a full-blown optional dungeon in an open-world game, so when a truly secret one comes along, it stands out. The Piteous Ruins in Final Fantasy 15 are unusual. You can only reach it using the Regalia flying car, and unlike most secret dungeon in RPGs, no enemies here. Just to get inside, you gotta wait till night for the doors to open, and the puzzles, they're pretty brutal. Let's just say I hope you like jumping puzzles, because there's no way you'll be getting through this place without, doing lots of them. There's some pretty great rewards for those with perseverance to actually finish the place, though, but I can barely get through, the beginning section, if I'm completely honest. This dungeon's perfect for a list like this. It's hard to find, it's weird as hell, and it's brutally hard. Basically the holy trinity of top 10 lists. And number 5 is Rage, the various secret rooms. The original Rage, developed by id Software, was seen as pretty ambitious before it came out, but the final product was not great, kind of boring. Still, it is id Software we're talking about, so there's usually a good secret or two, and this game has 4. In the various parts throughout the game, you can find various Easter egg rooms, with each one having their own methods to unlock. Some are harder, some are easier, but it's also unlikely a first-time player will just stumble upon by accident, and at least one requires you to complete an entire area and then come back so you can actually access the secret. The rooms in question are the Wolfenstein Room, the Doom Room, and the Quake Room, all faithful recreations of the studio's previous games. Also an id Graffiti Room, but not as interesting. It's exactly what it sounds like. I mean, all 4 of them are exactly what they sound like, but the id Graffiti Room is who cares? None of these rooms are big or elaborate, but there's something uncanny about exploring these old games in a more modern game engine. You don't really get anything for finding these other than some little collectibles that you can sell off for pretty fair prices relative to where you are in the game, but they're definitely still worth hunting down if you have any nostalgia for the classics. At number 4, Borderlands, the pre-sequel, Super Mario World. In the previous list, I mentioned weird-ass Mario Secret and Dying Light, and that's not the only game to sneak an entire Mario-themed area in. Near the end of the pre-sequel, this confusingly titled third game in the Borderlands series, there's an area with a bunch of automatic elevators. Normally, you stay on the elevator too long, and there's a force field that crushes you. Stand on that. Keep going into the darkness and you'll find yourself in a pixelated area filled with blocks and warp pipes. The music is different, and exploring this place will trigger enemies that come out of the pipes. It's a reference to secret warp rooms, because if you use the floating blocks to platform up, you can actually go over the regular exit into a new room with 3 exit pipes, just like the warp rooms in Super Mario Bros. On the NES. I'm not really sure why FPSs keep inserting entire Mario-like areas into their games, but no complaints. And number 3 is Dying Light 2's Doom Secret. Yes, Dying Light 1 had the bizarre Mario secret, but Dying Light 2 just takes the throwback secret to the next level with this incredibly elaborate Easter egg. Just to start it, you need to find a secret elevator in the basement of the VNC tower, which is only accessible until after you beat the game. There's nothing you can really do here except collect 5 evil rubber ducks that are scattered around the world in some of the most obscure places possible. Once you have them all, you can use the power cores to form a pentagram, which finally unlocks the secret, a special challenge where you can play a Doom-like level, pixelated graphics and all, with an infinite ammo shotgun. The way the graphics are pixelated, it actually reminds me of some of those on-rails arcade zombie shooters from the mid-90s, more than Doom itself, but it's also a recreation of a Doom level. And that's not really the end of it, but for our purposes, that's kind of all that really matters. Just finding these red ducks is a huge ordeal, and if you save at the wrong moment, it's possible to lock yourself out of this secret entirely, but it can be done, and it's actually a really, really good Easter egg. And number 2 is Elden Ring, The Hidden Path to the Hallowed Tree. I can't think of an open world game with more secrets than Elden Ring, to be frank. It might as well be Secrets the video game. Like, so many locations in this game are either optional, avoidable, or just flat out secret. And while there's a lot of good ones to mention, there's really no secret area as essential as the Hidden Path to the Hallowed Tree and beyond. Seriously, there's an entire chunk of the map that you just can't access unless you manage to find 2 secret medallions that let you take the massive elevator at the Grand Lift of Rold down instead of up. This passage leads to the consecrated snowfield and the many important areas that section of the map connect to, including an entire legacy dungeon, the Hallowed Tree. If you miss just one of these medallions, you're missing a huge chunk of the game, including a boss fight with the character that is on the cover of the game. You are definitely missing out if you miss this area. And finally, at number 1, the Gold Ribbon Grocers from Fallout 3. Let's wrap this one up with a real fun one. Fallout 3 had a ton of totally unmarked locations that are rewarding as hell to explore, but most of them don't contain anything too surprising, just more loot. This place actually isn't a lot different. The rewards you get from it are nothing special, but that's not the only thing that makes for a memorable location. This unmarked grocery store can be found northeast from the Jury Street metro station. It's just an unassuming building, but when you go inside, you find this elaborate setup with a long row of boxes, a pitching machine, some bear traps and frag grenade traps, all set up in a sequence. For some reason, this random shop contains an elaborate Rube Goldberg machine that you can activate by standing on the pressure plate with all the arrows pointing at it. All you have to do is watch. As far as Rube Goldberg machines go, it's not the most spectacular, but considering this is all done with the in-game physics, it's still pretty impressive. I wish more modern games had as much fun with physics as this game does, because just imagine the kind of setups people could make now. The whole thing ends with a massive explosion covering the whole back half of the store, and afterwards a bunch of loot and bodies fall from the ceiling, including some magazines and a mini nuke. It's pointless, but it's the kind of goofy stuff that more games just need. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.